Well, how much did you think Triple H, he had to learn everything from Vince, and he had to spend a lot of time with Vince outside a wrestling environment.
Yeah.
So do you think Vince transferred most of his knowledge to Triple H or no?
Well, I think Triple H learned a lot from Vince, but I also think Hunter is a student of the game. I really do. I think he's an old school guy deep down. I think he appreciates the old school. He knows it's new school. He knows you have to have uh, a lot of sizzle with the steak.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think Hunter did learn a lot of Vince's mannerisms, a lot of his a lot of the way Vince did things. Vince Hunter took from him, no doubt.
So, okay, when Vince took over from his father, Vince Sr., they had an old way of doing things even back then.
Yeah.
And then Vince brought in the new way to do it. And I think that was like started by Pat Patterson, and they got it rolling in that direction. And whose idea was it? The Attitude Era.
You know what? I think that was one of those things that happened organically because you
Yep.
had Austin, Mankind, Taker had been there, but now it's starting to jive. Rock, um, and Shawn was still there, obviously. I don't know if anyone had one in particular. I think before the Attitude Era, it was a New Generation era. That was
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and but the Attitude Era was Austin and Brett, and they were coming still. I think reeling from the trial and just kind of getting everything shaken off. It's like a dog when he's wet. You're shaking off the water, and you're still a little damp. Okay, let me shake it some more. Wipe you off with this towel. Now we got the Attitude Era.
So, what was your last year actually like in the office?
In the office, it was
In Stanford?
yeah, it was 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was yeah.
So, were you there when Vince screwed Brett?
Yes, I was watching that at the studio. And when that happened, as soon as it happened, I knew it happened. I was there for the whole Brett Shawn thing, and you could feel the tension. I was never a part of the clique, the BSK, or anybody. I was kind of, I was off on my own. I would interact with them periodically if we happen to find myself, or if I happen to find myself. I didn't go to the bar a whole lot back then either. From the hotels, I was just
Mm-hmm.
isolating, and but sometimes I would wind up in somebody's room, where everybody kind of wound up in one place.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and so
So the heat, you could feel it.
yeah, yeah, you could because there was
Okay,
never
tell us.
ending.
So, when did you think Vince put all this together? Because Brett wasn't going to drop the belt, correct? He
Right.
had made that plain. He wasn't going to drop it in Canada.
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing was he made it plain because Shawn had said to Brett to his face, "I'm not going to put you over." You may because Brett came to Shawn and said, "Hey, I want you to know I respect you as a worker. I'll do business with you anytime." And apparently Shawn said, "Well, the feeling is not mutual. I'm not going to do the same for you." And that was, I mean, why would you say that? But that was what Shawn said. That's how it was going. And it was an obvious separation. I mean, you did have the click and you did have the BSK, which were cool. It was fine, but it was a real. They were two real entities. There were two real factions. They were two. That was when we talk about authentic. You had these guys hanging around each other all the time, and it was evident who was making things happen in the flow, and just it wasn't it was what it was. It was, and there always been cliques and there always been guys who kind of grouped together and stuff like that. But this was obvious in the tension because Shawn was saying things and being obnoxious and going, going to the ring and doing what he wanted. It was obvious. It was good,
Mm-hmm.
but it was Shawn Michaels. You can't deny he's a once in a lifetime performer.
Were you there the night that the Harris twins jacked up
In the
Michaels
garden?
in the dressing? Yes, Madison Square Garden.
We were overseas.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this was, I think it was overseas because
Well, let me tell you how they kayfabe me on the whole deal.
Yeah,
I was there that night. I didn't know they yanked Shawn in the dressing room and jacked him up. While
right.
I think Donnie jacked him up. Ronnie jacked him up.
I think
Donnie, Ron pushed him up and said, "You next time we hear you saying something bad about us, we're going to beat the living crap out of you." I think Don kept watching. Undertaker too.
Yeah,
they were watching out. So they didn't have any more trouble out of Mr. Shawn.
No, but that's how the Harris boys work. I mean, they're real low key, man. And if something's going down, unless you really need to know about it, I think they were just probably protecting.
Well, they didn't tell me, and I was their manager riding with them. And they still didn't tell me. I learned about it the next day from somebody else.
Right.
They says, "What did you do while that was going on?" I said, "Well, what did I do when what was going on?" And they said, "The deal with Shawn and I didn't even know about it." And they looked at me like, "You kayfabing bastard, you're not telling anybody either." But they didn't have any more. They didn't have any more trouble.